61 years of age, Hideo Kojima's creativity knows no limits, and he just taught all video game and Hollywood studios a lesson with the third trailer for Death Stranding 2, On the Beach. Fasten your seatbelt, because I'm going to analyze the trailer and the questions it raises before giving you my narrative approach to what the game might be about. Without further ado, let's get started.
Kept you waiting, huh?
You, sir, are an unrepentant criminal, guilty of illegally entering our country on multiple occasions.
The trailer opens with what seems to be a flashback prior to the events of Death Stranding 1, giving us a glimpse of two new characters. The first one, who looks like a federal agent, is played by Dan Donahue and might be a member of Bridges, reporting to Bridget Strand. The second character, called Neil, is played by Luca Marinelli, an Italian actor whom Kojima had his eye on for many years. He even said in an interview that with a bandana, the actor would make a very good Solid Snake. What's interesting about this character is that, like Cliff, it seems that he was a soldier too, perhaps even a former member of Delta Force, judging by his outfit. But I think the most important thing is his first name. Backwards, Neil means link or bond in French, which obviously reminds us of Amélie, whose first name split into two literally meant lie of the soul. So I wonder whether tomorrow's strands and loos that we see here lead back to Neil or not. I'm saying this because Neil and Tomorrow have the same eye color. Anyway, we learn at the beginning of the trailer that Neil was apparently guilty of illegally entering UCA territory on several occasions. Bridges allegedly arrested him, and upon learning that he might have dooms, the organization offered to overlook his crimes in exchange for a grim job. He was to transport brain-dead pregnant women from Mexico to the UCA, presumably for Bridges' experiments with bridge babies and the chiral network. That's what he says to that woman called Lucy, with whom he seems to have a secret relationship. Played by German actress Alyssa Jung, who is in a relationship with Luca Marinelli in real life. Lucy was also part of Bridges, probably from a medical unit. Considering the image on the tablet she shows Neil and what she tells him, it's highly likely that the secret affair they were having couldn't last any longer for her, as she'd just become pregnant.
It was not a mistake.
If I had to guess, I'd say that although the faces don't match between DS1 and DS2, probably because Kojima hadn't yet identified an actress for the role at the time, this is definitely Lucy Strand, Sam's wife. This could mean that shortly before the events of DS1, Lucy, who was cheating on Sam with Neil, became pregnant with either Sam's or Neil's child, and as mentioned in the first game, she took her own life after 7 months of pregnancy, causing the void out of the town she lived in. That's why we see Sam here with short hair, moving towards Lucy's body in a scene that would take us right up to the void out she caused. As for Neil, something bad must have happened to him or a loved one before he died for him to return from the dead like Cliff. Is he also looking for the child Bridges took away from him? Perhaps this would be in line with Deadman's words in the previous trailer, implying that Lou was not the original BB-28 and that it was incinerated 4 years before the events of DS2, thus 3 years before those of DS1.
Now, according to them, BB-28 was flagged for disposal and subsequently incinerated 4 years ago, long before you and Lou first met.
It could be Neil's child, who knows? Regardless, he'll come back from the dead to get his revenge and will visit a beach reminiscent of Mexico. It's likely that his intermediary between the different beaches would be the woman seen on his bandana. This is what I consider to be the very first gameplay sequence of the game, as we see Sam with Bridges' old outfit under his coat, along with Lou. Odds are, he's on his way home after picking up an order or making a delivery. We also notice that the color scheme and weather have been tweaked here compared with the previous trailer. We then learn that DS2 takes place 11 months after the events of the first one. Bridges has been dismantled, and deliveries have been increased and fully automated by the private organization APAC through its company A-Pass. Service servers were gradually installed on the beach, and the souls of all those connected to the chiral network appear in the sky as a symbol of their connection. And by the way, the design of the servers is a big nod to the famous 5th generation connection machines, or CM5, featured in Jurassic Park. Amelie's cult that we see here is actually full of robots controlled by whatever they're carrying on their backs, which appears to be a small version of Higgs' sarcophagus. In my opinion, each one contains a BT, a soul, or something similar. Either way, these individuals are indeed carrying Higgs and are headed towards a portal of unknown origin that connects the continents, certainly through the beach. Another means of fast travel throughout the world is the DHV Magellan, controlled by its captain Tarman, who uses his powers to cross the abyss represented by the tar. Moving forward, we learn a bit more about Dolman, played by director Fatih Akin. He seemed to be a sort of medium who apparently used his Doom's abilities to allow what appears to be his daughter to interact with a BT, perhaps her mother, but something happened to him and his soul got trapped in the girl's doll, while his body, seen here, lost its life. Next, I think this is the first encounter between Sam and Higgs, who doesn't reveal his true identity yet and hides behind his mask. Incidentally, the cult members don't kneel before Sam, but before Higgs, who can be seen here, and I believe this scene will lead to this boss fight, with Higgs controlling this robot from his sarcophagus. Higgs seems to be able to control the robots thanks to his mask, which he puts on them. How this strange mask works remains to be seen. In any case, following the previous trailer, I think Higgs' business in Mexico is pretty straightforward. He builds robots and gives them a soul before spreading them all over the American continent.
Yeah, I figured you'd pay this place a visit, seeing as how I've been distributing the fruits of this fine factory all over the continent.
In this shot, the tar is pulled towards the sky, as seen in the second trailer. Has the Death Stranding impacted the Earth's gravity? Does the Earth attract the moon towards it, which would in turn attract the tar towards it? Leaving aside the symbolism of the marine world, the same can be said about the Crab Nebula in the sky. Was it attracted by terrestrial gravity? If not, how can we explain that the remains of a supernova explosion more than 6,000 light years away from Earth are so visible to the naked eye? Even weirder, Sam is underwater here and doesn't seem to have any trouble breathing. Is he in the abyss or on someone's beach? I don't know. Talking about the abyss, if Sam became mortal again at the end of DS1, will he be able to come back if he dies in DS2, or will someone repatriate him? Nothing special to say about these gameplay shots, except that Sam is wearing a new type of exoskeleton, and that the chiralium that used to cover the sky is now gone for the most part, revealing magnificent scenery. But if the chiralium has disappeared from the sky, what about timefall and its aging effects? Has APEC developed timefall-resistant cargos? Because although Sam protects himself from the rain, the cargo doesn't seem to be affected. Say hello to Ma Dong-seok, the Korean actor Kojima scanned in July 2023, who makes an appearance as a prepper.
I couldn't protect Lou.
Now it's time to get down to business. In line with the first trailer, Kojima wants us to believe that Higgs killed Lou, but I think it's a bit more tricky than that, and I'll talk about it in a moment.
The best I could hope for was to jump Lou out. Just Lou.
However, there are two things to mention here. Lou's tears are made of tar, and she has the same strands as Tomorrow and as the stranded robots. As for tar, there are only 5 people known to have tar in their bodies: Bridget, aka Amelie, Tarman, the Doctor, whose skull veins appear black, Lou, and Tomorrow. Oh. It's hard not to think that Lou could be the child version of Tomorrow, an extinction entity that could end the world. By the way, her bed was designed by the cosplayers from the first game. From the looks of it, it seems the BTs are now able to evolve thanks to the tar. Some even come from cocoons like Higgs and Tomorrow. Unfortunately, the only clue we have about tar is that it contains amino acids and acts as a primordial soup, allowing the BTs to evolve rapidly. Get a load of this majestic shot of Sam on top of the world, which is certainly a tribute to Caspar David Friedrich's painting Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog. Among the new characters are the President, played by Alistair Duncan, who dubbed Armstrong in Metal Gear Rising, the Doctor, played by Deborah Wilson, who dubbed Crying Wolf in Metal Gear Solid 4, and who has 2 right hands, in addition to the Dooms, Charlie, who is a complete mystery, and an engineer of sorts, whose face reminds me of Jacob Bonds. Speaking of characters, I've got some bad news about Deadman. Even though he seems to be around here and there, at some point he's going to reach his beach to finally rest in peace. And that's good news, since it was his dream to have a soul and therefore a beach of his own to go to.
People born the traditional way have beaches. You have one. BB too. But I have no such connections. No mother. No afterlife. No beach.
That being said, of all the unrelated shots, there are a few that caught my attention. In the first one, we see the UCA cities in which bridge babies, certainly brought by Neil, were used as foundations for the chiral network. In the second scene, we can assume that the Doctor extracted the baby from Rainy's womb and put it in a pod. As for the third shot, there's a hand-shaped door that gives us a glimpse of Amelie's beach during her sacrifice at the end of DS1. In the fourth one, Lou's soul can be seen returning to her pod as a BT. Finally, in the last scene, we see that Lou has a heart-shaped mark on her left forearm, and that's precisely the part we never see on Tomorrow.
DHV Magellan. Integrate!
To end this analysis, I hope I'm wrong, but we might be witnessing one of the game's final scenes. The BTs, having evolved to the point of developing their own will, join forces to confront the DHV Magellan. Facing them is Hartman, now equipped with an artificial heart and level 9 dooms. He summons a giant BT on the beach and takes control of it to make it merge with the ship, creating Magellan Man, a weapon to surpass Metal Gear. A weapon to defeat the Death Stranding. A few years before the events of Death Stranding, a man guilty of trespassing on UCA territory on several occasions called Neil is arrested by Bridges. Upon discovering that Neil had dooms, Bridges offers him to overlook his crimes in exchange for a job that only he can do, transporting brain-dead pregnant women from Mexico to the UCA, enabling Bridget and Bridges to carry out experiments on the babies and the chiral network. Under pressure, Neil accepts Bridges' proposal and takes charge of these deliveries. He then meets Lucy Strand, a therapist in a medical unit. Although Lucy is a married woman, she falls under Neil's spell, and the two start a secret relationship, unbeknownst to Lucy's husband, Sam Bridges. As time passes, Lucy discovers that she is pregnant with Sam's child and decides to end her relationship with Neil. Unable to accept the situation, Neil decides to leave Bridges, but the organization refuses and forces him to continue his deliveries. From then on, his fate remains unknown. 7 months later, consumed by guilt and Doom's nightmares transmitted to her by Sam through the baby she's carrying, Lucy officially commits suicide. Unofficially, she may have been killed by Bridges or Neil against his will. Meanwhile, on his way home from a delivery, Sam stumbles upon his wife's body before being attacked by her BT, resulting in the void out of the city UCA 010C. Only Sam will make it out alive thanks to his repatriation abilities. As for Neil, his mysterious death will prevent him from resting in peace. A few years pass, and the events of Death Stranding 1 take place, leading to the connection of the UCA to the chiral network through the beach. As Amelie sacrifices herself to give humanity a chance, Sam becomes immortal again, and the Death Stranding ends. Sam then decides to adopt his bridge baby and names her Lou. However, by being taken out of her pod, Lou, who should have died, is kept alive in the world of the living. As a result, her body gets filled with tar. In the meantime, Higgs, who seems to have lost his powers because of Amelie, chooses to stay forever on the beach, but he hasn't said his last word yet. 11 months after the end of the Death Stranding, something's not right. Humans may be remotely connected, they remain at home and are still isolated. As the chiral network is deployed in more and more places all over the UCA, Bridges is dismantled and replaced by a private organization called Automated Public Assistance Company, led by this man. With its company called Automated Porter Assistance System, the organization manages to take over all deliveries in America and gradually throughout the world. However, with the increase of automated deliveries and the progress of technology, the current infrastructure is no longer able to keep up with the growing bandwidth. In response, servers are brought to the beach, and the souls of all those connected to the network appear in the sky as a symbol of their connection. Meanwhile, Sam and Fragile live together in an abandoned bridges shelter and are raising Lou. Since they are cut off from the world, Sam has to carry out deliveries on a regular basis so that he can also provide himself with supplies. Regarding Fragile, maybe a reverse effect of the Timefall's accelerated aging allowed her to regain her former body, perhaps thanks to Hartman's research on the matter. Elsewhere, a group of robots controlled by a device on their backs are forming a cult devoted to the extinction entity Amelie. They seem to have found a way to bring Higgs back from the beach, using a tar sarcophagus similar to their own. In doing so, Higgs' body is brought into the world of the living through a portal that connects the continents via the beach. Once Higgs awakens on Earth, he wastes no time. With the goal of turning Lou into Amelie's successor, his actions lead to the child's tragic death. Higgs allegedly killed Lou, and before she turned into a BT, he took her to the beach to separate her soul from her body, and then placed her body in a cocoon of tar to speed up its growth thanks to the amino acids and strange properties of tar. Lou's mysterious death and the return of her soul as a BT are therefore the starting point for a new Death Stranding. Badly wounded during Lou's attack, Fragile is taken into care by an unknown person. As he returns from a delivery, Sam learns of Lou's death and isolates himself from society yet again. During this time, Hartman manages to equip himself with an artificial heart, preventing him from dying every 21 minutes. He also acquires level 9 Doom's abilities, enabling him to summon and control BTs as well as shape and merge them. Once back on her feet, Fragile closes shop and creates Drawbridge, thanks to funding and the help of an individual who may be the president of APAC. With her new organization, she can now operate outside the UCA to handle deliveries and connect the world to the Carol network. But to do this, she needs help, and there's only one man capable of achieving that kind of thing. Together with the crew of the DHV Magellan, Fragile manages to find Sam and convinces him to hit the road, this time to connect the world and save it from this new Death Stranding, but also to try and find Lou. Like Fragile, Sam will undergo a special treatment to reverse the aging process affecting his hair. Among his new crew are Tarman, the ship's captain capable of interacting with the tar; Dahlman, a former medium whose soul is trapped in a puppet who could interact with the BTs before losing his body trying to protect his daughter; Rainey, a timefall-resistant pregnant woman whose baby may be important; and many others Sam will meet along the way. Now able to cross the tar and the abyss to travel anywhere on Earth thanks to Tarman's powers, Sam and his crew will at some point get their hands on a kind of tar-filled chrysalis containing the body of a young woman named Tomorrow, who seems to be connected to someone or something. This strange woman, with abilities similar to Amelie's, will be at the core of this new Death Stranding and will become the key linking the past to the present and the present to the future. Her awakening will reshape the world and change its rules. The moon will come dangerously close to the Earth, drawing the tar towards it. The Earth will experience climatic hazards and unexpected situations. The tar will allow the BTs to evolve thanks to its strange properties. The soul will become a toy that can be injected into objects or robots. With Higgs trying to turn Tomorrow into the new Amelie, Sam hoping to find the daughter he lost, and Neil returning from the dead to find answers, the sixth extinction is back in full swing. Will Lou have to die to save mankind? Either way, the Death Stranding began on the beach, and it will end there, leaving only one quote behind.